What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down why tomorrow is going to be another important day for the markets as we have some big bank earnings coming out, which are going to affect the entire flow of the day, including for NIO stock, and also what's going on with some more data as we have PPI coming out. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about NIO and what's going on with the technicals and some very important levels to be watching for. But before I begin into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and this offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with NIO in the markets. NIO is down 0.14% for the day, currently closing at 7.4, holding this support thus far. But if we end up losing the support, there's going to be a risk of more downsides. We're going to be watching to see if NIO could hold this. We have resistance at the 4-hour 20 EMA that's going to be approaching at 7.6. And we're going to be watching to see if NIO could try to bounce. Now, CPI came out. As a result of CPI, the market sold off as a whole before the market made an attempt to bounce, making a full recovery before coming back down and closing kind of red. That's part of why NIO just barely closed red as well. It came down and tried to hold up, but ended up continuing to close in the red anyways. So NIO attempted to bounce as well, ended up coming back down. And the market once again played a big role in causing NIO to close like this, not to mention the fact that Tesla and other EVs are continuing to sell off. We're going to be watching to see how other factors affect them. I do want to note something very important about NIO and also for the whole market. CPI came out, and CPI for all items was a bit hotter than expected. This is because of the adjusted move when they seasonally adjust housing and energy. That caused us to go up just a bit. Besides that, everything else was quite moderate, but CPI was a little bit hot, right? This came out this came up, just a little bit. And then for all items CPI without food and energy, so that's basically core CPI. The purple line here saw a slight decrease that was aligned with expectations. With the slight increase, this may lead to some fears out there, so you want to be very careful, especially because of how it affects the Fed's policies. But for now, the data was not that horrible. It wasn't absolutely horrendous. When it comes to the way the market moves tomorrow, we're going to be looking at some very important data. An hour before the market opens, we have the PPI report coming out. We're basically expecting core PPI to show signs of a slight decrease, if not be the same. Year over year, we want PPI to be between 1.9 and 2%. The last time it came out, it was 2%. So we're looking for this right now. And then for PPI for all items year over year, we want this to be between 1 and 1.3%. So a slight increase is what we're expecting. This is going to cause some volatility tomorrow. PPI is a leading indicator for CPI. It's very similar to CPI except from the producer side. We'll be watching to see what that brings. Now, that's not the only big piece of data coming out. We also have some earnings coming out for JP Morgan Chase, Delta, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, and Citi. We'll be watching to see if they end up missing or if they meet expectations. A very good website to look at this is Earnings Whispers. You can actually check that out on their website if you want to see what the earnings look like. So just wait and see tomorrow morning before market open. That's going to have a big effect on the whole markets. As far as SPY goes, as a reminder, tomorrow max pain's at 472, but we have a 1.56 puts to call ratio. So with all the puts expiring, are they going to cause a squeeze to squeeze shorts? Or are we not going to see it depending on bank earnings? That is going to depend on the data. For NIO entered a strategic partnership on battery swap with Wenergy. Also, that's Wenergy Group alongside other transportation companies and Jack Group. That is some bullish news that came out. They basically announced that the battery swap tie-up agreements with Jack and Sherry. This is going to be very, very helpful for NIO. This is going to help them improve energy storage, charging, and battery swapping construction. This is going to help them with their infrastructure, their improvements, and factors like that. They also mentioned how this agreement was formed by different companies out there. They didn't go into the full details about them, but there are a lot of speculations coming out there about energy storage, energy swap systems, and other things like that. And this is some great news about them. With that being said, with the improvement being made to their different methods and the functionalities of battery swapping, this is just very, very nice to see these improvements, and it's going to help them out even more as time goes on. This is still making lots of headlines. Cherry, NIO, and Jack once again forming a partnership. If NIO can become more profitable thanks to this will be even more helpful for them. This will help them develop the battery swap business in a way that's even better than before. Now, NIO also had about 52 million in volume, so volume is still kind of flat. And then when it comes to other pieces of news, the last analyst that gave us a rating is Bank of America, which gave NIO basically a very, very neutral rating. They used to be very, very bullish on NIO, so they changed their stance, unfortunately. And then on top of this, we have the price price ratio dropping as NIO showing some weakness. On a seasonality basis, NIO tends to be green only about 53% of the time on Fridays. So let's hope NIO could try to base from here and show some life, but that's going to depend on other pieces of data. So once again, the two main pieces of data are going to be PPI in the morning for tomorrow, not to mention all this data from JP Morgan Chase, the earnings for BlackRock, and etc. before market open. So we will see what the market does. But I still want to break down some important technicals. Let me just note that I can't predict everything perfectly in this video because I don't have the data. I don't know what the earnings will look like tomorrow. I don't know what PPI is going to look like. So I can't give you guys the most accurate estimate, but I can tell you what the technicals are suggesting. So with that being said, although it depends on the data and such, I can't make any promises. I can tell you that NIO is kind of oversold. It's been dropping quite a bit. It's approaching the support right here at 7.2. I think that NIO on the 4 hour is showing some life. And if you look at the daily time frame, although NIO has been dropping quite a bit, the daily is still looking a little bit weak, but it's trying to base at this low level. So I think what's going to happen is NIO is going to try to retest 7.25 to 7.3, bounce a little bit, and likely try to make its way up to 7.6 and then trade sideways from there. That is the most likely possibility. Us closing very flat, maybe a tiny bit in the green, but this also depends on the bank earnings and PPI, which I cannot predict. As far as SPY goes, well, if we're bullish tomorrow, we're going to try to break 478 and try to close above that, get closer to about 480. If we're bearish, we're going to be looking for a rug pull and a move back down to 474. If that fails us, 472 and below is coming. This is going to depend a lot on the bank earnings, so we'll see what happens with those. I can't really predict it perfectly, so we'll just have to wait and see. Make sure you watch those levels just to be safe. As far as Aapl goes, I just want to mention that if Aapl is bullish, you want to see it break 188. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 185 and then eventually support around 182. So watch those levels very carefully. On the QQQ, if we're bullish, you want to see this break above 410 and eventually get to 412. If we're bearish, you want to see this thing basically lose 406. If we lose that, then 402 is coming. So watch support very carefully. It all depends on the data coming out for tomorrow. For Nvda, a bullish move would take this thing up towards at least 555. Could even get close to 560 if we break that. If we're bearish, you're going to see it come down towards 548. If that fails us, we're going to be sinking down to about 545, then eventually 542, and then 537 to 538. In my opinion, this looks like it might turn looking at this doji, but just to be safe, we will see what the data suggests. So with that being said, I went over the main ones except for Tesla. Tesla's a little bit different from the rest of the market. It is looking very weak right now. We got lots of bad news, especially because they're going to be halting production temporarily in Berlin because of some issues going on in the Red Sea, hurting their transportation process. So with that being said, here's the simple answer. We're going to be watching the 50 moving average at 224. See if we can try to hold that on the weekly time frame. If we hold above this on the weekly, there's going to be a chance Tesla could try to bounce off of it. If we lose this very soon, especially tomorrow, if we close below that 224 area, we're going to be sinking closer likely to about 217.5. So we're going to be watching that support on the weekly time frame. That's going to be key for Tesla now. We already lost the daily 200 EMA, which is a big loss for Tesla on the daily time frame. So that being said, we'll see how it goes. For NIO, make sure you watch these levels. We're looking kind of weak on the weekly, but we do like to bounce around $7. It likes to hold that. So we will see if NIO could hold. I think tomorrow NIO could attempt to bounce, get back to 7.6, come back down and trade kind of flat. But that's just speculation based off technicals. The biggest factor is going to be PPI and the data that comes out from the bank earnings. So watch the bank earnings carefully. We'll see how it looks tomorrow, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow for the next update. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, and peace out.